Hello everyone and welcome back to another album review, and in this video I'm going to review Scenic Farm by Sit and Shine. Brand new album from Sit and Shine, a project that has been going for lots of years, and they have some very interesting albums in their whole catalog with a very big discography. Now for me, I've stated this before with my previous review on the album that was released the previous year, but Sit and Shine for me is one of the most intriguing figures I've stumbled upon recently in experimental music. This take on noise rock music with so many different experimentations of psychedelic music and electronic, house, krautrock, all of this makes for a big mess of sounds that at times can be put as something just quite wacky, ridiculous and funny, and not as something to be taken seriously. And that's pretty much also the case with Scenic Farm. There are lots of cases with the sound choices, the percussion, this sort of cheap drumming sounds and those experimentations that come out of nowhere and don't make any sense. All of those elements have been in previous cases of Sit and Shine records, and this is also the case with Scenic Farm. It pretty much follows a formula that I would expect, and I'm pretty pleased with the result. So for lots of people might be something of like a joke, and I totally understand that there are so many moments in Sit and Shine that it's hard to take seriously because they're just quite fun and ridiculous, just experimenting and messing with lots of different experimental stuff. But I can't help but think that some of the stuff they've done over the years are some quite genius works that I see myself coming back again and again and again just for how out there they are. This brand new album from Sit and Shine doesn't make something new or something different that we haven't heard from this project before. What we have is an enormous album right there, having 15 tracks and going for I think more than an hour of material. It was first released as physical releases a bit while ago, but it's been about recently that my eye was caught to the digital version that it's only available on Bandcamp and nowhere else. This is released on Rock is Hell, a label where they've put some material here before, but it's not like the usual stuff like you would expect with Riot Season or more recently with Rocket Recordings. But that doesn't mean that we see a different sound from Sit and Shine, that they go for something entirely different. Instead, I like that they keep their roots and just experimenting with so many out there stuff. Getting to the fact though that this is 15 tracks, not every single moment over here managed to shine. Instead, there are some moments that are not that gratifying, do not impress me as much, and it comes off with some of the shorter moments of the album, and especially towards half point through the album, where I feel that some of the reputations and some of the steps taken towards the approaches of the songs don't make for some really that amazing results. The repetitive nature is something that we see from Sit and Shine in numerous projects, and in this reputation and those loops they would just constantly just experiment and just free improvise with so many different elements, whether that has to do with scenes or with spoken word samples or just with stretched sounds or just glitch, some added percussions. The stuff from Sit and Shine actually kind of remind me some of the experimental approach that I would see in some of the projects of Muslim Cause. The very adventurous and out there moments come into the first tracks of the album, where this is where you have the biggest mess, and this makes for some very good moments, like the first track, which I'm not going to try to even pronounce, and also my personal favorite out of this album, Have You Been Drinking to E, a track that reminds me a lot of the track that they did into an album a few years back, Bad Vibes, that had the track Yeah, I'm on Acid. It reminds me a lot of this track. It has some of the same characteristics. I like the use of the samples of this thing, all of those sounds coming together. The synths are very solid, and it's just with this very just sort of cheap sounding drums that are very basic, but the way it's just processed into the mix with all of those sounds, it makes for a very well structured track. Towards this more messy approach, you have tracks like Sevol, which is a track that I would like more out of it, and it's that much of a mess where you don't manage to really grasp a lot out of it. Also, the track Camino Real is one of the more straightforward approaches. It has those moments where you see two different sort of like samples or sound just being put in different portions of the tracks, something that also happens with lots of other moments getting towards this album. Then getting towards the half point of this album, we get into some kind of weak moments. The tracks Off the Wall, Yates and Madison, and SLUB make for some of my least favorite moments. They are tracks that go into a very sort of specific route. There are some experimentations here and there, but even like the laid back and straightforward approach on some of the beats with their simplicity or their sound would not make for something that I would be really that much impressed. Also, let's not forget that we have the extremely unnecessary track EE, which is just 8 seconds of just some electronic tom sounds. It's towards the last portion of the album where I think that we get some of the better moments. Sure, there are some more straightforward and more repetitive stuff, but I like that they drag them. It makes the tracks more enjoyable, more memorable, something that is easier to just get stuck in your head and remember, rather than just having those short moments filled with all of those messy stuff where you just can't pick a specific thing that makes this track enjoyable. So we have moments like the ridiculously distorted Scenic Farm, one of my favorite moments over here. The album also ends with a very abrasive and very distorted and nasty moment with the track I can't pronounce it. We also have the 11 minute and 41 second track Lowside, which is one of my favorite moments. It is very repetitive. There is some alternate drumming here and there, but the idea pretty much stays the same for the entirety of the song, and I think it is done in a very good fashion. I especially love the scenes on this thing, those acid scenes, they're very cool. There is also the track Shut Fuck Mountain, which is also one of those moments where I like the use of sampling with those spoken word samples, and I like the way it's just made with a very weird loop structure that sort of changes in some specific portions. There is also the track 109 Teeth, not one of my favorite moments, but for its 8-minute runtime it manages to just keep a nice vibe, the nice atmosphere as far as it goes. So with that being said, this album from Sit and Shine is a very decent moment and another great work in their discography. In my opinion, it's also one of those works that it doesn't manage to get close to like some of the amazing results that we have in some of the albums that would do a few years back, but still Sit and Shine got it. They have a sound that still remains quite obscure, quite weird, hard to process or just get an idea of what's going on. You just sit, relax and enjoy. It is a bit all over the place. It has a formula that you would expect from a Sit and Shine album, and so for fans of the project, I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy this one. I'm going to give Scenic Farm a 7+ out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.